All right, everyone, welcome back from Lunch Hours 105 on Thursday, May the 21st. We are picking up committee discussion and a vote on Rep. Stone's proposal of amendment to S64, an act relating to amendments to the scope of practice for optometrists. So, to go over the next block of time, where the intent is to have a conversation about the proposal, and then take a position on it. And then after that position, you know what the structure of the underlying bill looks like. And then we'll pick that up after that, more discussion and vote. So with that, I will open up the table. Rep. Stone.
I want to reiterate that the point of this amendment was to force conversation. So I don't even like that we're voting on this. Like, I put everything in the kitchen sink so that we can have more robust conversations. One of the things I really want to highlight is the Medicaid expansion. Right now, as it stands, and we have Ledge Council here, and JFO, if they want to chime in, it'd be helpful. If an ophthalmologist does these procedures, it will be covered by Medicaid. If an optometrist does, and we move forward with this, Medicaid won't cover it for them. So even y'all who are like, woo, go optometrist, I want you to know it will not be covered by Medicaid. And that should be a huge flag, especially for folks in rural Vermont, which is disproportionately covered by Medicaid. So that's something I think we really need to dig into. And when I spoke with people on healthcare, they said that their understanding that it was brought up, but that the understanding is that the work would continue as it moved on to other committees. And that's what I'm trying to do now. But instead, the train just keeps chugging along. And I'm just saying, I don't even think we should be voting on the amendment right now. We need to be having more robust conversations, especially about that piece.
I did speak with someone from the healthcare committee this morning who said that they thought that it would be covered. So I think we need someone to help us.
Yes, Council, JFO.
Yeah.
Please feel free to join.
Good afternoon, Jen Kirby from the Office of Legislative Counsel. So the testimony that the Agency of Human Services provided in-house healthcare was that these services would not be covered under our current Medicaid state plan if they were provided by an optometrist, that there would need to be an update to our, through the federal government to our Medicaid state plan. I have since followed up with them to say, you know, I'm hearing there's concern about whether legislation is needed in order to amend the state plan. I don't know that legislation itself is needed for the state to request approval to amend our Medicaid state plan. But it is my understanding that it will not occur in this case unless there is legislation, because the coverage would require an appropriation. Medicaid will not cover it without an additional appropriation, and they need legislation to directing them to seek the state plan amendment in order to prompt them to add it to their budget proposal for state fiscal year 2029. So, and you may want to hear from the Agency of Human Services directly. But yes, they will not cover it without an appropriation, requires a fiscal analysis, and then a fiscal year 2029 budget, both of which would be prompted by legislation directing them to amend the state plan to provide coverage.
Council in front of us. Any other questions? Direct Morgan?
Well, I guess if that's the case, then couldn't, I don't know if I'm directing this at anybody, but in general, but couldn't we then assume somebody still could go, well, then I'll go to an ophthalmologist instead? They have a choice. Right? Am I hearing? That
Right, this doesn't
would mean it'd be a
change,
choice, right?
right, it would not, for somebody with Medicaid, it would not change their access
Yeah.
to an ophthalmologist.
Yeah, right. So they'd have a choice. I guess that would be my thoughts anyway. It would make sense.
I had Coffin, then Angle.
I just had a question because the effective date of this bill, the underlying bill, is July 1st, 2028. If additional legislation was taken is taking it up in getting that additional legislation needed. Would doing it, if we could get this through, then doing the legislation for that, if it was taken up in January of 27, would it give time for that appropriation? Because there's still another year. This is going to take effect in 2 years.
Right, yeah, I think it's a question of the timing of the Medicaid state plan amendment
Mhm.
request and the interplay, and Nolan may have more thoughts on the interplay with our global commitment waiver renewal or renegotiation. So I don't know the timing enough. I think that's an agency of human services question I can't answer.
For the record, Nolan, I won't just go off this. So currently our waiver is called Global Commitment, for those of you who aren't familiar with Medicaid. And it currently expires at the end of calendar year 27. So whenever we do any kind of state plan amendment, it often can take months, like there's a process and apply for it. We're only, a year and a half from our end of our amendment. This state plan amendment takes 6 months to implement. By the time it goes into effect, then it's only a short period of time. In the meantime, that would actually be in effect. In the meantime.
Right, but we should separate global commitment from state plan, because those are,
Sure, okay, so what was the question?
well, I just,
Sorry. Let me confuse you further, thank you.
Please proceed.
I don't know enough about what goes into the global commitment waiver negotiations to understand the extent to which changes to our state plan, which is like what Medicaid, the services that Medicaid covers and the providers that we cover relate to.
Yeah, that would have to be an answer to the question.
So-
Sorry about that.
So I had Hango.
I think my point was addressed, so thank you.
Okay, Brett Morgan.
I guess I was just gonna say to further that conversation, I think. Yes, you could next year. Could there be a gap or a lag? Yes, but it isn't gonna take effect till 28. You in theory got about. Year and a half, 2 years. It may not be much of a gap to bridge. I don't know. I think there would be I don't know, just thinking out loud on it. On how this whole process works. So, and again, I think we give options to people.
And I guess to continue speaking to this period of time for implementation, that would hire next session to address this conversation about Medicaid.
Right.
Before it's actually implemented.
I think that's what you're getting at.
Mhm.
Brett Waters.
Just speaking to all of this in general, I'm wondering if there's a way to maybe look at a couple of things on the amendment that might, with the knowledge that we're running out of time on the floor or in the session, not on the floor, lots of time on the floor, that we're running out of time at the end of the biennium, and that I think there are some changes in this amendment. And I would love to see what the rest of the committee thinks, what the sponsor of the amendment thinks about what the things are that we can maybe compromise on, if, there is such a thing, to make sure that the important stuff happens, but also that we're not losing like the good stuff that's in here. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just wondering if that's something that people are thinking about.
Yeah, I keep saying I fashioned this amendment like a Christmas tree on purpose. That's why I said that. I didn't expect us to be voting on this huge thing less than 24 hours after I presented it. It was to push conversation so that we could compromise. And I guess the art of compromise is being lost because it's a campaign year, because people want to leave legacies because of whatever, I don't know what it is, but it's like, come on, y'all. Like, I just am looking for compromise. And so that's why I think it's honestly silly to vote on the whole amendment as one big thing. I would like to talk about. Are there pieces that we could pull from this?
To respond to that, the part, I don't know why my brain cannot grasp this phrase. Is it collaborative? What is it?
Collaborative practice.
Thank you, collaborative practice. I'm gonna write it down
If
really
the
quick.
ophthalmologists are willing to do that. I mean, like we've.
That is the part that I think is important.
Today, could we bring the two parties together and say, now that we've talked.
Yeah.
They said that they would be willing to do that. Would that be something that you on the optometry side would be willing to lean into or not? We're missing that. We just heard the two sides again today, but I want to see, based on what they've said in this amendment, are there pieces that they would be willing to lean into even a little bit?
I'll go to Rep. Pistol in a second, and what I want to do is just refer back to the testimony from the Secretary of State's office in OPR and trusting their position on this overarching policy. So, Rep. Pistol.
I think the one thing we heard collaboratively this morning is that they both agreed that the Board of Medical Practice was a good way instead of just the Board of Optometry. Am I missing that? They
They
did.
said it would be confusing.
Oh.
Multiple boards.
The board itself said they could handle it.
Yeah.
Others thought it was confusing. Just-
I think you may have been out of the room.
Okay.
Rep. Nugent?
I guess, so where I'm at, I feel like the underlying premise of the bill that it's gonna improve access has not been proven adequately. Because no one has shown the evidence of that. Everyone says it probably could improve access, and then without Medicaid, covering it, that means that the people who we're thinking about, who might need this access to potentially cheaper, quicker care, are not gonna have it. It's going to be, people who can pay for it on their own. And so I think absent that, to feel confident in this bill, need to see some kind of structured collaboration that we require of these two groups. And so of the amendment, I thought the care board overseeing that, because they're already overseeing these procedures being done by people who have a lot of experience doing them. That made sense to me. I don't know if it's a good idea to have two tracks and two professions doing the same procedures continue to evolve separately, without some kind of structured collaboration and connection. So I think there's good things in the amendment. I don't know, I don't feel like we've talked about it enough to really take a position on the amendment itself, but I think there's important points in there.
Morgan, then Lloyd.
Yeah, and respectfully to everybody at the table, I think for me, this is not a political thing at all. I mean, I'm looking at this and I've talked to, full disclosure, my optometrist that I utilize. And to me, it comes down to discussions. I've been talking to him about this for 4 years. And I have complete faith in his capabilities to work on my eyes and do everything that I see in here. I've talked to him on most everything that's in here. He emailed me last night on things that are in here. And so I think it comes down to that. I think it has to come down to what everybody has for a comfort level. To me, it is zero about, this is not going to be a campaign talking point for me at all. I mean, I don't see why it would be. I don't know, maybe it would be, but I don't think so. I'm just thinking it's a matter of, do we trust that these folks will do the right thing and do it? And the guy I use, and again, I'm using my optometrist, but I would think if any optometrist, they're subjected to various levels of scrutiny at the state level here on, they do something, screw it up. They're in deep water or hot water, I should say. And so again, using my guy, I know if he felt he was in over his head, the guy's got the integrity to go, I'm over my head, go see an ophthalmologist. And to me, that's what it boils down to, whether we can live with that or not. That's me.
Lloyd and then Pistol.
I really like what you said, Kate, and I completely agree. And until this week, we have had two groups that are miles apart. And I also don't think that we should be taking a position on this amendment. I think it has really helped evolve the conversation and start to bring these two groups at least a little bit closer, or at least start to think of like what pieces would help promote a compromise that is even more collaborative for these two groups of people. I think there's so many details in this amendment that again, like, it just doesn't feel right to take a position on it. And that so many of these details could be hashed out with more time for the underlying bill itself.
Well, Representative Nugent just said that she's talking about two different practices going down the same path, and it made me think of an endodontist and a dentist. You go to get your tooth pulled or have a root canal, you can go to your dentist, or they can send you to an endodontist, depending on,
Think of endodontist.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
you know. So it's a thing. So it's like, same here, you go to an ophthalmologist or you go to an optometrist to have certain stuff done. You want to have a really good root canal, you're gonna go to an endodontist, not gonna go to your regular dentist. Even though they do it on a daily basis. So, again, I think it comes down to the patient itself and choosing what's best for you to do.
Right, I go. Scully?
No, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure I did.
I just want to maybe amend something Rep. Pincinel said. She said really good root canal. How about more complex?
There's no such thing as a good root canal.
But that would be my choice if I had needed a more complex procedure.
Point well taken.
I do now.
Okay, table is yours, sir.
I think the comparison is a good one, personal. What is important to me is that this has been hanging around since 2019. And we talk about caring for the citizens of Vermont and especially those in rural areas, that they have some care for their dental difficulties, for their eye difficulties as they go along. Blindness is not a pleasant path to be on for lack of care. It requires people to be with that person who should have been diagnosed at some level at some time. Everything that Mary Catherine has brought up in this amendment is important. I'll share it with you. I'm a licensed embalmer in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and I hold the license here in Vermont. Before you start thinking this guy is a windbag and he's going to tell us about it, there is only one point that I wish to make. The embalmer's license is important to epidemiology in the community. When we deal with someone who has expired and they have expired of a communicable disease, there is a whole practice that changes from the chemistry to how we will handle that dead human beings to avoid the possibility that we could be a contributor to some at least small epidemic outcome. It's not something that you think about in daily life, not something that you necessarily need to know about. But there are boards and practices and training that goes on all of the time in that field of licensure. We are also responsible to the health department for any failures on our part in that practice. Commonly, people go through that period of life where there is cessation of life and separation of being in one's company, and they get through it, and the individual that we care for to a final place of rest is cared for with all of the thoughtfulness and some of the counseling that comes after the event. But clearly, the epidemiology is really important. Not often do you have to face it, not often do you have to take those procedures, but when you do, you have to do it right. Mary Catherine's amendment is certainly about doing it right. We have an obligation to move the damn bill though, so that we can care for people in their eyesight as soon as possible. Personal experience with my optometrist had been a close association with ophthalmologists that would operate on my eyes for cataracts, for injury, never taking a chance that they knew better than that level of medical care for the repair that I might need, whether it was just physical or whether it was due to injury and the line of duty. So it's been a long time. I think we ought to move it. I think, though, Mary Catherine's amendment should not be forgotten. And what is in this amendment then needs to go to the appropriate committee, whether they failed the law or whether they just need to have the door opened and the light let in. But there are issues that go along with the expansion of this practice. I am sure, I'm confident that the practitioners that would assume responsibility for the expansion of their services will do it responsibly. For all those that want to come to the practice and be in Vermont to help people, especially in the rural areas. And let's not forget ourselves in the urban areas. That's who I go to first, is the optometrist, that we want to be able to see those people pursue a practice here in Vermont that will be beneficial to all of the people in Vermont, wherever they may be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
So I have a question for you, Chair Byron. Where do we go from here?
So I still want to take a position on this. The date of departure is still very uncertain. This still needs to go to Ways and Means. It still needs to go to the floor. It's also cleared the entire Senate and the healthcare committee here. So they're, in my opinion, the individual, the member who structured the bill language in coordination with OPR and others, the language that we built together was handed over to Senator White. So I've had my hands very much in this deeply for 4 years. I would like to get this moving just because of an uncertainty with our gavel out for the session. So I am still very much intent on taking a position on the amendment and a position on the underlying bill before 2 p.m. when we have animal welfare and Rep. Boyden has to go to appropriations for our cannabis.
Okay.
Morgan.
But I think Rep. Scully, I like what you said. I agree. I think, yes, no, it doesn't mean crumple it up, throw it in the trash can. That's to be kept in a folder and utilized by somebody. And doesn't mean it can't have another, what do we like to say, another bite of the apple. But, you know, because, but I also am hearing what Rep. Byron is saying. I agreed. I almost said that a minute ago and I forgot that. As some point here soon, we got to get out of here. We should get out of here. So agreed on the last couple of comments.
I offer to change my amendment. I offer to change it, to offer 2 more instances of amendment.
And
I'm
what's,
offering a floor amendment right now. Look into the Medicaid because I really do have very strong feelings about that. I think we all should in this room. Again, especially if you're supportive of the bill, let's make sure that people are covered. And I hear what you say about the choice, but isn't that why you're supporting it? So that like the very argument that you want rural people to have access, it goes against it if this, it's inequitable that the people, you know, who are not covered by Medicaid have more access. That's not okay, or they don't have to shuffle around so much. And then the other thing I want to keep diving into is the Vermont Board of Medical Practice. Just getting more understanding about what that could look like, if there's any collaboration that could happen.
and I will say that, I mean, there's time for that. I mean, you just, first floor amendment is still has to go to another committee. But as far as the steps of the committee jurisdictions and the rest of the bill, I very much want to get this out and on its way to.
So are you saying that you're not, that Repstone can't make changes to her amendment? And then we re-vote on it?
I want to take a position on the proposal. We're already at 1:30. We're gonna have a discussion on the rest of the bill. There is time to do it in ways and means for a floor, but there is plenty of runway to still have a conversation about what the language is like, avoiding the hang up.
I find this a little frustrating because this conversation has been going on for years. And I think if we're gonna do it, we should do it right. And there's been an argument going on for years. So I don't see the reason to rush on figuring out an amendment or to vote on it today. We should be doing this right.
And go, then it's not.
My question was for Repstone, are you offering to just change the language of your amendment right here on the spot, and that's what we would take a position on?
I would like to offer two different amendments right now, as I'm hoping is my God-given right as a legislator. And this is called compromise, right? That's what I wanted with this amendment. I knew I wasn't gonna get the whole Christmas tree. But after listening to testimony and using my critical reasoning today, I'm hanging on to the things that I think I'm letting things go, even though I don't want to, So I'm saying, could we discuss those two things? I'm trying to compromise yet again and collaborate.
So if we were to, or if she was allowed to amend her, doing a second amendment, that would, pardon?
Oh, yeah.
Right, no, I'm saying, if she presents a second amendment that has something in there that states that upon approval of Medicaid, blah, 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 and the Board of Medicine, and then leaves the lasers in, instead of taking the lasers out, then if she comes up with that one, and we agree on that one, the next step, it goes to Ways and Means, and then Ways and Means has it till Tuesday, Wednesday, then it can come back to the floor, right?
Yeah.
So we have time.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is these conversations about whether or not to amend could still be had while it's in the other committee and or the floor.
I think that's still not the appropriations.
Appropriation as well, yeah, so that's an additional.
Probably need the, potentially need an appropriation of which the budgets.
Fair.
Let's not talk about,
Or maybe put it off.
7, isn't it?
Depends on which, how you bring the line.
Okay,
Potentially.
Yeah.
I feel like it went to appropriations on the,
Yeah, I think now that you mention it, I think you're right, so it still has two more stops. Before.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
Or.
Yes. And so there is an opportunity that, I mean, just this very day at 2:00, Rep. Boyden's going down to present amendments from this committee to a bill in their possession that we voted out. So we're actually applying that very same practice today.
Yes, I understand what the process is and that we amend things and then go present them to the Senate. I guess the thing I'm wondering about is so would Mary Catherine be amending her amendment? Or is Mary Catherine or Repstone agreeing to sort of put this amendment aside and start fresh with a new one? Is that the process that we have and then it comes back here, in which case we can't vote the bill out of this committee. If there's another amendment coming, she would have to do it as a floor amendment when after it left Ways and Means and Appropriation and went to the floor. Correct?
So any amendment, regardless of member being this committee or not, if it's policy focused, would still have to be reviewed and accepted or not accepted by this committee, regardless
Yes.
of where it's.
Yes, I understand that. Okay.
I guess I'm
So-
missing.
Okay.
I think actually she's asking him that question. Which do you prefer?
Right now, I would like to see this get out of this room.
Oh, here.
And it is up to him.
We don't have a straw poll scheduled right now on the vote, on the bill itself. It's just on the amendment, correct?
Right now,
No.
we're discussing the amendment, and
Okay,
now we're
okay.
going to the vote itself.
But we do
Yeah.
have
And it
one,
is scheduled.
yeah, we do have
Yeah,
a vote warrant.
Scheduled on the whole bill for when? Today?
yeah, 1:30.
This discussion is what I was trying to ask to get clarification from Rep. Stone. I would like to know what the process is that we're saying yay or nay on. Not the amendment, yay or nay, but the process. So what does Rep. Stone want us to do here that you
She's
could
calling.
weigh in on, whether you could weigh in on?
I would like to recess and talk to legislative council.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll break, or how long would you like, Rep. Stowe?
How long?
Thank you.
At